Hey guys, so this video debunking misconceptions, I guess is what I'm going to call it. I guess I can't really think of a title. I was going to go with trolls, but it doesn't really fit because these are kind of all on a spectrum. Well, and plus I don't like the word troll. I think it's just silly, and now it's just used as like an argument. Like, I don't like what you said, so now you're just a troll and you're insincere. It's like, really? How do you know that okay, whatever. Or like hater. Hater's another one. Oh god, that's even worse. Like if you actually say hater, like unironically, I don't think we can be friends. Point is, I don't think that most of these things, these questions, I guess, are troll-ish. I think they kind of exist on a spectrum. You have some that are, well, like, okay, the one I'll start with is do I eat eggs? And it's like, I think that's fair for people to believe that I eat eggs. I've seen that a lot, particularly in the past, not so much anymore, but a lot of people saying on some of my videos and other people's videos as well that I eat eggs. And I don't think that's trolling. I think people actually believe that. And it's not too surprising because, you know, I have defended people consuming eggs in very specific cases, right? From rescued hens, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about this 1,000 times before. And so I don't think it's that surprising that people have gone from that to I eat eggs. So someone watches the video and they swear they hear me say that I eat eggs somewhere in the video, right? Or they just assume that I do. Or someone watches the video and then shares what happened to the video with someone else, and before you know it, it's like, oh yeah, she totally eats eggs. So yeah, I don't think that's really trolling. I think that's just kind of human nature. And then there are other ones like that I totally just live on processed food, which I think is just, I think some people just really don't like me and they just want to believe that's the thing, that I just live on Ben and Jerry's. Okay, so the first one, do I eat eggs and do I eat oysters? I'm just grouping these together. And as you may have already guessed or gathered from the previous couple minutes of this video, no, I do not eat eggs. I am an ethical vegan and I am also a dietary vegan. So no eggs at all, factory farmed or otherwise, backyard hen, whatever, no eggs for me. And no, I don't eat oysters either, although I have no problem with that whatsoever. And I actually have a video on that, so check it out. Okay, so the next one's a funny one. So did I fake having a baby for views? A couple of people have said that one. Not very many. I just thought it was funny, so I wanted to include it. No, I did not fake a baby for having views. And no, you cannot see my baby either. Sorry. Yeah, if I were gonna fake something, it would be way more interesting than having a baby. Okay, so number 3, in that same vein, I guess, did I have a real baby just for YouTube? So this one comes from, I guess it's a misunderstanding based on what I said in my pregnancy announcement video. And so yeah, I just want to talk about, I guess, why I'm going to be talking about it on the channel and what it means for the channel in terms of content. Well, the main one is just to show that being pregnant as a vegan is like not really a big deal. So yeah, someone took what I said there to mean that I had a baby for YouTube for views, which would be, I think even the biggest like view whore would not have a baby for views. That's pretty intense. I mean, really, if I did, don't you think I'd show it? The videos I've done talking about pregnancy, they haven't really garnered that much attention or gotten that many views, right? If I just did it for views, I mean, every video would have like my boob out and breastfeeding the baby and like, here's the baby, look how cute it is. And my baby is pretty fucking cute. Anyway, I think that makes it obvious that I did not have a baby for views. Okay, I spent way too much time on a really, really silly question that most people were like, yeah, obviously. Yeah, so number 4, am I a speciesist? I have such a hard time with that word. No, that was a misunderstanding that I had, that a lot of people have regarding speciesism. So yeah, I did a video correcting that a while ago, so check it out here. Okay, so the next one, I didn't number these, I think it's number 5. Relating to the last one, am I an ableist? Yes, but only in the most asinine of ways, which unfortunately is how the term is often used. As I talked about in my speciesism correction video, the one that I encouraged you to go to. I find the ability to think, to feel, to be conscious, to be sentient, morally important. Anyone who doesn't is a crazy person. If you take ableism to mean only unfair discrimination, then I am not ableist, with regard to being able to see, to walk, to hear, or any other unfortunate disability. In other words, if you are blind or have a mental illness, I do not regard you as morally worthless. I do think that we should screen for diseases before birth so that people with the lives that are most worth living and the least suffering can be born. It's not because a disabled child is worthless, not at all. It's because a disabled child is more likely to suffer more, to experience more suffering, and to cost more. And these are resources that could be used to help those who are already here and already in need. Diversity, like many things, has diminishing returns. And if you expect people to suffer horrible diseases so that you can be pleased at the great level of neurodiversity of the population, yeah, you're kind of evil. Okay, so that took a more serious tone rather quickly. I didn't realize that when writing this. Maybe I should have changed up the order of some of these. So the next one, number 6, I think. Do I worship at the altar of Peter Singer and think that painlessly killing animals is okay? So this is actually a pretty simplistic understanding of Peter Singer's views, as well as I know, as far as I know. I got it. As far as I know, he does regard opportunity cost as meaningful. Killing an animal obviously may deny it any future pleasure. In addition, he has, or at least he had, some concept of value relative to capacity of forethought, but I'm not super caught up on his most recent views, so he could have changed his mind on that. I don't know. He also does understand and does mention that it is impossible, at least currently, to kill an animal painlessly. So I don't agree with the straw man of Singer's views, and I don't agree with the actual Singer's views, at least as I understand them, although the difference is academic, and I actually did once agree with him as evidenced by this interview, which I think is where this is all coming from, which is totally fair. This is one of those examples where just why I didn't want to call this video trolling, because that's totally not trolling. It's totally reasonable to think that I view things that way if you read this interview. So yeah, I definitely respect Singer and I respect his career, particularly his work on effective altruism, but obviously that doesn't mean that I agree with everything that he's ever said. Anyway, there are very limited practical differences between what I believe and what Singer believes. I agree with Singer about reducing suffering. I agree that killing without violating interests, that in and of itself is not wrong. We probably disagree on dying, violating interests in not dying, animals not wanting to die, for instance, being wrong. But again, I'm just not a Singer expert. Sorry. Despite having been corrected on the definition of speciesism since posting this video, I think other than that, this is a good kind of summation of my views. No, I do not think that it is okay to kill an animal painlessly, even if an animal could be killed painlessly, because I believe killing an animal that doesn't want to die, I think that's wrong. But again, all pretty irrelevant at this point since it's not possible to kill animals painlessly, at least currently. So if you want to be like a, hedonistic utilitarian and believe that, go ahead. I don't really care. I think there are other more important things to focus on, things that for the most part we all kind of agree on, reducing suffering. Okay, next one, 7. Do I think it's okay for a vegan to keep a cow in their backyard for its entire life to drink her milk? I guess it would have to be a she if there's milk, right? No. So first, a cow is far too large for a backyard, right? Unless you have an incredible backyard, it's gonna be too small, right? And also it would probably get pretty lonely. Just one cow, no other cows, it'd probably suck. Even if you did have a large enough backyard and, other cows for the cow to interact with and you didn't kill the cow, afterwards, there are still other problems with milk production. I do think it's possible in theory to take milk humanely from the cow, since it doesn't involve killing the cow, obviously, but I don't believe there are any real life examples of this, at least none that involve commodification of the animal or of the milk. I may make a video on this in the future, just examining the impracticality of humane dairy, of actually humane dairy. Yeah, so let me know if you're interested. Okay, next, do I think backyard chicken eggs are good or vegan? So the example I've talked about in detail, again, I kind of mentioned earlier, eggs from rescued chickens that live like in someone's backyard, and they're well cared for. They're treated like you would treat a dog or a cat, right? Very well, they're well fed. So this is not any sort of breeding operation, right? There's no breeding going on. The chicken's just doing whatever the chicken wants to do and is leaving unfertilized eggs just around to rot. At that point, in my eyes, the eggs are now vegan and they are totally fine to consume. I know people have argued that there are better uses for the eggs, right? You could give the eggs to people who would otherwise buy like factory farmed eggs, you know, from the grocery store, or you could give them to like a cat or something, right? Instead of buying, you know, meat for the cat, buying some sort of canned or kibble food for the cat. Yeah, obviously there are better things to do with the food, but if you just really want eggs, but you don't want to purchase factory farm eggs, even if you're vegan and you would not purchase those eggs, I think it's totally fine for you to eat those vegan eggs. Unless, of course, the hen, I don't think this is something I've ever mentioned, but unless the hen is broody, so if the hen is guarding those eggs and wanting those eggs, in that case, I don't think it would be okay to remove the eggs. Now, I don't think we should call them vegan, at least, you know, as food or in dietary terms, just because I think it can be really confusing, particularly for people who are not vegan or who are looking to go vegan, and I think it may end up being like a slippery slope to like eggs are vegan now. I don't think that's a good thing. Although I do think there is an interesting discussion to be had there, like I mentioned in my I Was Wrong video, you know, discussing something like palm oil, which would be like a harmful vegan product, to, again, eggs from a rescued backyard hen, which would be a harmless non-vegan product. And while these vegan eggs are not vegan in any dietary sense of the word, I would have no problem with someone calling themselves vegan who did eat those eggs. So someone who was otherwise vegan but ate eggs only from rescued hens, right? I actually talk about that distinction here. And I actually think this is a good thing. I think recognizing and understanding that there is an exception to the rule, right? That there is vegan but vegan eggs, right? I think that's really important, and I think it helps show non-vegans that we're not just part of some crazy cult and it's go vegan or die and, you know, following some asinine dogma. So in conclusion, again, no, I do not eat eggs, nor do I eat meat from a dumpster or roadkill or anything like that. It's merely a case of understanding the spirit of veganism, right? You know, veganism as a way to reduce animal suffering rather than just dogma. It's not vegan in dietary terms, but ethically speaking, that doesn't mean that it's always going to be wrong. And the opposite can be said too. Just because a food is vegan, just because it's a plant, doesn't mean that it is not harmful. So the next one, do I hate whole foods / you know, in the same vein, do I eat processed junk all of the time? So this is one of the more ridiculous ones. So this seems to be a result of several different things. So first, you know, I've criticized the notion that some whole food plant-based supporters promote this idea that just eat whole foods and you're good. You don't have to focus on any other, you know, any specific nutrients other than B12. You know, most agree that you have to take a supplement for B12, but other than that, just eat a variety of plants and you'll be fine. This just grossly oversimplifies nutrition, as Jenny Messina, registered dietitian and vegan Jenny Messina, has said. You know, you can eat a totally varied, whole food, nothing processed, plant-based diet and still fall short on certain nutrients like calcium and zinc. The second reason why I think people think I just live on processed food and like hate whole foods is because I do taste tests. I started doing them, I guess, a year or so ago, a little longer than a year ago. And often when I do a taste test, it's usually something fairly processed, fairly junky, if not totally junky, right? Just sugar and like coconut oil, like those Daya cheesecakes. Holy crap. Yeah, so I guess people take that to mean that I just live on Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Third, my what I ate todays often contain a fair amount of processed foods, and there are a couple reasons for that. So the first one is that when I do a what I ate today, it's usually when I'm eating something different or something special, something fun, right? I've even done some like reviews within my what I ate todays of like new products, and usually something new and different and fun is going to be something more processed and more junky, right? Like no one wants to see 1,000 what I ate todays of oatmeal and lentils, because that's what you would see. That's what I eat. Like my normal days are like oatmeal, lentils, salads with tofu and tomatoes. Like, no, it's boring. And second, I have been pregnant or breastfeeding for over a year now, which significantly messed with my appetite and with the foods that I could eat. So, you know, for a long time, there were no vegetables in my what I ate todays because vegetables were disgusting and I did not eat them. So do I hate whole foods and live on Ben & Jerry's ice cream and gluten and isolated soy protein? And Splenda. I gotta have the Splenda. No. So as I said in my, I think it was the alienating beliefs video, I believe that a whole food, plant-based diet done right with, you know, appropriate supplementation, I do believe that it is a very healthy diet, and I try to eat more whole foods than processed foods. But a whole food diet is not something that I follow religiously. It's just not a priority for me. It's not something that I'm interested in. And plus, I think that some processed foods are actually pretty healthy, not to mention pretty convenient and pretty delicious. Tofu is a really good example, you know, non-dairy fortified milks, even some mock meats, the ones that aren't like breaded and fried and covered in sugar, can be pretty healthy. And again, delicious and convenient and fun. Okay, next, do I think veganism is logically flawed? Okay, so when we're talking about the ethics of veganism, so not, you know, just dietary veganism, but ethical veganism, there are, broadly speaking, two different camps. So you have the dogmatic, deontological vegans on the one hand, and on the other hand, you have the pragmatic, consequentialist vegans. So it's dogmatic veganism, it's deontological veganism that is flawed. Veganism, you know, this idea that this is right and this is wrong, absolutely, very simplistically, does not take any sort of context or consequence into account. That is logically flawed. Thankfully, there are many sensible and pragmatic vegans who do care about consequences. Now, you can be vegan without making any sort of ethical claims, and many are. There are many, you know, dietary vegans, and in that sense, it's not flawed. I'm only referring to the claims coming from the dogmatic, deontological side of animal ethics, I guess, of vegan philosophy. So next, do I ignore criticism? I mean, obviously not, since I have several videos correcting myself. I think the issue that people have is that I don't respond to every single criticism, right? There are plenty of, I guess, response videos out there that I have not responded to. And there are reasons for that. Number one, obviously I don't have time to respond to everyone, let alone just watch every single video, right? That's responding to me or criticizing something that I've said. But also, I typically don't respond to smaller channels that I think are harmful. You know, they're promoting a lot of pseudoscience or making veganism look bad. I typically try to avoid responding to channels like that. I just would not feel right about giving channels like that, giving people like that a platform. I also usually ignore responses that are just misrepresenting me, that are basically strawmanning me, whether intentional or unintentional, because I don't think that people watching my videos are going to be very interested in hearing me just repeat the argument that I already made in a prior video. I don't think most people are very interested in that. So a really good example of both of these would be Mike the Vegan's video saying that I said whole food diets are crazy. So I didn't respond to this video at the time because his channel was smaller and he was and still does, you know, promotes a fair amount of pseudoscience regarding vegan nutrition, just nutrition in general. So I didn't really want to give him any more publicity. And also the second thing, as I talked about already in the video response that I did end up doing, he very clearly misrepresented me in that video. Again, not that he's gotten any better, but his channel has grown. So, you know, like someone like Fully Raw Christina or Freely, I think it's worth the time to debunk, which is why, again, I did end up making a response video. So last but not least, am I a shill? No, I am not a shill, but that's probably what a shill would say. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. That ended up being a little bit longer than I thought it would. The tone was a little weird. It was kind of fun and jokey, and then it was serious, and then it was joke. I don't know. It's a weird video. Anyway, I guess if there are other things that I should have included, that was all I could think of, but there are other misconceptions or something, or things that I've said that you're not clear about, or things you've seen other people say and it's like, no, that's not what she thinks, or that's not the argument. Yeah, let me know down below and maybe I'll do a part 2 if it's necessary. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. I shouldn't have clapped. The mic's gonna pick that up. Too late. Subscribe if you want to subscribe, and I will have a new video soon.